What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the very interesting rumor that Naughty Dog is actually working on a second game. Now, it gets a little bit more messy when you think about that this rumor comes from Daniel RPK, right? Who's very good with movies and entertainment, Hollywood. And I honestly think he gets a lot of the game rumors because of casts. I'm not 100% sure with that, but I feel pretty good about that kind of prediction of how he gets it. But anyway, he is very reliable. He is very good. Now, he has actually talked about The Last of Us Part 3 before. He is one of two that have really gone hard on The Last of Us Part 3. He's been in the works for like 3, 4, 5 years. Now, seemingly behind the scenes, I would say Neil Druckmann's done a pretty good job of hiding that if it's true, right? If they are working on Last of Us Part 3, he has done a pretty good job. Not that I believe him when he says like, oh, I intend Last of Us Part 2 to be it, or, whatever the wording was. I actually did a whole video on that. But the way he answers things is definitely okay. I mean, if you do believe him, even if you don't, he hides it pretty well. But this comes from that guy, right? So he's already said in the past they're working on The Last of Us Part 3. And I think that's important to nail because now we're about to talk about a third game. Now, many people are saying it's the second game, but like, okay, well, how does it all work, right? So you have Intergalactic as game 1. Is that game 2, and then is The Last of Us Part 3 game 3, or is this game we're about to talk about game 3? I mean, does it really matter? Maybe not, but I'm trying to also think about like the order that they would release in, right? Intergalactic is probably 2027. Now, the interesting thing with this game is they say that it's been in the works for 3 years. Now, 3 years really lines up with when Shawn Escayg came back, right? So he was the director of Lost Legacy. He leaves to make the little-known game of Marvel's Avengers, and then he comes back. So one thing I do want to say is I don't know how much I trust this project. He seems like a very good guy. I've actually watched several interviews, and I tried to watch a couple interviews of him with Marvel's Avengers. He was a writer on that, I believe, as well as creative director. For what it's worth, the writing is probably one of the better parts of Avengers, so whatever. The guy did Lost Legacy. That was a pretty darn good game. Some people really think it's like the greatest Uncharted. I really do not believe that, but that's okay too. Anyway, he's got some talent. He leaves. He comes back. Interesting to point out, though, he came back 3 years ago. So he came back 3 years ago. The rumor is this game's been in the works for 3 years. I don't really know how that messes with The Last of Us Part 3. I also don't really know how, okay, let me just take one more step back and really try. Maybe I'm like rambling too much, but you tell me if this makes sense. What was going on in Naughty Dog, like, say, 2 years ago? Go back, and that's kind of a specific year. Go back like 2 years ago, right? Because Intergalactic started, like, Neil Druckmann, I think, said 2020, right? So you go back to 2023, even maybe 2022. They're working on Intergalactic, and they're kind of, like a year or 2 or 3 in. They're also working on, seemingly, this game, right, from Shawn. Okay, so they're doing those two. But they're also doing Factions, to the point that they had to do this evaluation and this Bungie, Q&A thing. And, they were told that if you do the Factions, you can't make your other games. Which, we've talked about that. I really don't even understand how that even happens. But anyway, so at one point, you're telling me that they were working on 3 different games, and there was probably also like a script done for Last of Us Part 3. Like, okay. And you know what? I kind of frame it as a negative thing. I actually don't look at it. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I'm not really looking at it as that much of a negative. Number one, I'm more confused than anything. Number two, I actually see it as a positive, but I would also say, where has that Naughty Dog been for the past, what do you want to say, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years? Where has that Naughty Dog been? Because if this is all true, believe every rumor with me for just a second, right? That would mean that Intergalactic is coming out, say, 2 years. This game, 2, 3 years. So, like, you would have back-to-back, which is not crazy if you went back 12 years ago, right? Naughty Dog was capable of releasing Uncharted 3 in 2011 and then Last of Us in 2013. They literally did it. Actually, Uncharted 1, 2, 3, 2007, 2009, 2011. So they were very capable of doing this. You do the Left Behind DLC. Like, you had substantial things, and you were just, like, flying back to back to back to back. They were very capable of it. Then they stopped for, like, 10 years, and then now they're back to it. So it's maybe more skepticism. I know I'm throwing around just like any word I can think of like in this moment, but I want to believe it. I want to believe that they're working on 3 games. I want to believe that these games can come out in back-to-back-to-back years. This is, by the way, how you get back to being the best studio that PlayStation has. As I've said, I think like Sucker Punch and others have probably beaten Naughty Dog recently, but this is how you do it, is you release multiple. Now, they have to be good games. I'm not saying you just release games and you're back all of a sudden. They've got to be, elite game of the year type games. But this is how you do it, is you can't release one game every 10 years and then expect to be PlayStation's, poster child. You can't do that, at least to me. That's my own opinion. You don't have to have the same opinion. But so I wonder how this is all going to go. But, like I said, circling back to the actual rumor that they've been working on for 3 years. And I do believe that. I feel like, again, it's the cast. I think Intergalactic was tipped off to us, and I don't think we knew the name, but I think we knew that Naughty Dog was doing this stuff a couple of years ago because of casting. Is it Uncharted? We didn't even talk about what it was. Let me just quickly say, I've said for a long time, let it go. I want Uncharted back, but I don't want it from Naughty Dog. I feel like that era is gone. I feel like, so much of the heart that really started with mainly, let's just say, Amy Hennig. I feel like a lot of that has definitely been lost. Now, Lost Legacy did a good job. Uncharted 4 did a great job. But, I just feel, it's been a long time. Long time. Let it go. If you want to do Uncharted, give it to somebody else. At the same time, he made Lost Legacy. And then he made Avengers. And then he's back. So, could it be an Uncharted spin-off game? Could it be an Uncharted 1 remake? Well, we had heard that an Uncharted 1 remake was being made by other people, like 2 or 3 different times, right? So could they be doing that? Could they be doing a spin-off thing? Or is it another new IP? Now, I would prefer just do another new IP. It's not guaranteed to work, right? New IP means it could actually become like a franchise, or it could be a complete failure. But I think the more chances you have to do it, if that makes sense, right? Why is Intergalactic such a big deal to at least some people online, right? It's because, this is the first new IP since The Last of Us, and that was the first new IP since Uncharted. They don't do it all that often, and especially nowadays when they release one game every 10 years. So have Intergalactic come out and then try it again, because most likely after that is The Last of Us, right? So you're going back to a franchise, and you're probably ending it there, but new IP, maybe another new IP, Last of Us 3, and then you can do whatever you're talking now like 7, 8, 9 years. We don't have to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the idea of doing another new IP, that's probably my preferred thing. But I wonder, is Uncharted something they've thought about? Because we know Uncharted's not going away. The movie, the game's still being around. I think there'll eventually be an Uncharted 1 remake. We've talked about this, right? I do think it's still going to happen. We'll just see, is Naughty Dog the one that would do it? I personally think it shouldn't be them, but maybe it is, and maybe it's this game. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.